Let's remind you of some breaking news that we've had this hour, because Gaza's Civil Defence Force has said that 10 Palestinians have been killed in an Israeli strike on a school in Gaza City, that's in the north of the Strip. The IDF confirmed a hit on a school compound. They said that they were targeting Hamas operatives in that compound. Now, Hamas have continuously denied allegations that they used schools and hospitals for military purposes. Now, that news comes as the United States top diplomat meets Egypt's President el-Sisi for more ceasefire talks. He's hoping to convince Hamas to agree to a US-backed agreement which has the consent of Israel. However, senior Hamas leadership has expressed scepticism. Our international affairs editor Dominic Waghorn has the latest.
Well, I think it's a pretty gloomy prognosis here in Jerusalem, at least if you listen and read senior Israeli commentators who are sort of well connected and are watching this pretty closely. And what they're saying is it's not just a question of whether Hamas is going to approve this deal or not. It's not really that clear whether there is at the moment a workable agreement to accept. I mean, Israel has said it's accepting the proposal, but that seems to be very much in principle. And the assessment of commentators here, the more respected ones, is that neither Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu or his nemesis in Gaza, the Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, really want a deal. Sinwar, it seems, sent a suicide bomber to Tel Aviv over the weekend. He blew himself up before getting to whatever his target was, but the assessment of Israeli intelligence is this could be the beginning of a wave of more such attacks, and that Hamas wants to expand its war out of Gaza and possibly across the West Bank as well. But the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, seems to not want a deal, in the minds of many commentators here at least, because he knows that if he makes concessions required to reach this deal, the far-right extremists, the hardliners in his government could walk out of that government, his coalition will collapse. But also he's sort of someone who still thinks there is the possibility of what he's promised the Israelis, which is total victory over Hamas, which 10 months on doesn't seem to be getting any closer to the Israeli military. And his sort of way of stymieing progress, according to some of these observers at least, is saying that he wants the Israeli military to stay in the border area, the Philadelphia corridor it's called, between Gaza and Egypt. And that's a shift in his position from the deal that was agreed by Hamas, approved by Hamas, and thought to have had Israeli approval and American approval back in May. So he shifted, and therefore Hamas is saying it won't approve this deal. So there's a huge amount of work to do diplomatically. And we have Antony Blinken in Cairo, where he'll be meeting Egyptian officials. Egyptians are also very worked up about the idea of the Israeli military staying in this Philadelphia corridor as well. So the Americans are sounding positive. They're certainly trying to project optimism, and they're saying the Israelis have approved this deal, but there's a huge amount of detail to be resolved. And one of the main reasons for the Americans pushing this deal so much and keeping the talks going is they know if these talks actually fall apart, then Hezbollah and Iran will carry out their threat. They've made it pretty clear to retaliate for the assassinations of a Hezbollah figure in Beirut 2 weeks ago, more than 2 weeks ago now, and Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas leader, assassinated in an attack in Tehran as well more than 2 weeks ago. So while they're struggling with trying to keep the ceasefire talks on track, there is this real prospect, this danger of the region going in another direction, retaliation by Hezbollah and Iran, and a much wider war possibly ensuing from that.